Hello. Is it my turn?
Hi. Yes.
If you've just found us because you've wandered it off the internet and you have no idea who I am, I'm Jess. This is Ramon. What we're doing is we run a free streamed programming boot camp looking at JavaScript built around the free Code Camp curriculum. We're called the Bad Website Club. If you want more information or to see our schedule, go to badwebsite.club. If you participate with us, there's a Discord. You're super welcome over there. There is a code of conduct that's involved. You can go find the code of conduct at bit.ly/BWC hyphen COC, and I'll drop the Discord into the chat. Very chill. Today we're going to be doing functional programming because we're like well more than halfway through.
Absolutely. Dropping a link into the
Scary.
chat.
You beat me. So this is where we're going to be starting today.
Correct.
And functional programming is interesting because it's like a mental model. It's a way to think about how we're programming. And I've got a way to describe it, but I don't think it's a very good way.
I bet it's amazing.
Functional programming is when the thing that you use as the primary way to break down and think about your program is functions.
Yep. It's about really taking advantage of some of these concepts that we've already been using, such as defining functions that return a thing that we can chain into other functions, using functions as callbacks, really making our code depend much more on functions as opposed to step-by-step procedural code. Is what we're going to be
Okay,
focusing
so
more on.
that's what I said, except you said it in a way that sounded really smart and good.
Or obtuse.
So this is scary, it's new, but it can't hurt us. It's just JavaScript. And to make it less scary, we're learning something kind of boring. We're just going to make a spreadsheet.
Correct.
Oh,
So
do you
this
know what? I see
kind of
somebody saying, I worked through this, but I didn't really know what I was doing. That is a whole mood. That is okay. That's going to be me today. So we'll enjoy that. Sorry.
no, all good. Yeah. So we've got this spreadsheet, and we will be starting with. Let's take a look at our code real quick. Just want to see what we've got here. We've got our HTML, which has a container div and a div inside of it, and below that our script import. Now, the first thing we're going to do is load up. So the purpose of this is going to be to programmatically generate the cells for my spreadsheet. And the first thing we're going to do is use a new callback, a new event called window.onload.
And I've got a good idea of what this does, and you probably know. But learners, what do you think what is the event window on load going to wait for? What's the event that it's going to be responding to? What thing happening?
Yeah.
Add arrow function, no parameters. Oh, and we've also got a container variable, and that's going to be set to get document.getElement by ID with the ID, so the hashy baby. Oh, just container? Oh, by ID. You're right. We don't need a hash. I'm dippy.
Correct. So yeah, I'd be curious to know, does this run? Actually, console log. Hello? See when that. Okay, so it's console logging hello. Let me console log a more assertive hello. Now notice something. The assertive hello is being run before the more questioning hello.
Oh,
And this
is
should give
the
us a hint as to
sorry, please.
go for it. No, you're good.
So what's going on here is that the window on load event is waiting for everything in this window to load.
Yeah.
So the JavaScript gets read really fast and it says, cool, I'm going to run this console log because it doesn't have to wait for anything. And once that's loaded, then the then the console log, which is waiting for the whole page to be loaded, say, "Oh, do you know what? We've loaded the whole page, including this console log. So it's my turn. I can run now."
Yes. So what's going on is let me hide the preview for a second and the console. Let's just have the code side by side. We're reading our HTML. Everything's good. Everyone's happy. Get to line 13. We're loading. We run script.js. So this code runs, right? We say, hey, once all of the contents of this HTML are loaded, including all of the style sheets and all of the JavaScript, run the code inside here.
Okay.
In the meantime, print out console log. Hello. So at this point, we print out this console log. But look, there's still 2 more lines of HTML to load. So once that's done, load. Hey, the window's done loading. Now we can run what's inside of here.
Okay. So onload is saying, "Hey, I do want you to run this code, but the event we're waiting for is." Oh, Stephen, I'm gonna. So onload is. So onload isn't an event listener. Onload is an event. So where is the event is load? Yeah.
Yeah. Don't quote me on this. I think you could do window add event listener load. I could be wrong. You know what? I'm going to abstract that away.
Yeah.
Because window.onload is an attribute that we can do in exactly the same way. And you know what? I'm sorry to be obtuse, friends, but this is a way of doing that.
Cool.
I think
So
it's
I think what
document.
Stephen's asking
Yeah.
is, what's the event that is load? And the event, so load is when everything in this window has been loaded. So it means all of the HTML has been processed by your browser and all the JavaScript and CSS. So onload here is you saying, "Hey, don't run this code until you've run all of the HTML, all the CSS, and all the JavaScript until you've gone and got everything from this website. I don't want you to run
Yep.
this code yet. It'll
Exactly.
make
This
more
will not
sense in a
run.
second, maybe."
Yeah. So this will run once everything's done. We're just setting that up here. And in the meantime, we're being like, hey, by the way, say hello.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Pat.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Eric, we'll chat about this a little bit more at the end. It's a really good question, and we'll just talk about like the top to bottom flow. I think we'll cover it a little bit more as well. Sorry.
You're good. What we've got here is a function inside a function.
Wait,
This
we've done these
function
before. These
outer.
can't hurt us.
No, it'll be totally fine. So inside our document onload, window onload, we will create a new function called create label, which takes a parameter called name and doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Now, I want to, you know what? While we're here, let me be pedantic. Console log create label. Check this out. Create label is not defined. This function is only available within the scope of this onload callback.
What that means in less technical language is this Windows onload, um, this const isn't this const is dependent on the window being loaded, but the scope is limited to this function as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's keep going.
So the document object has a get element create element method. Okay. So we're gonna declare a label variable and assign it to a new div element using this create element that our document can do. So document.createElement div.
So
Okay.
we're creating an element. We're not putting it into the document yet. We're just saying, hey, I've got a div. Please
Uh,
create it for me.
Make me a div and just hold on to it for now. We're
Yeah.
gonna. I don't know if people still say yeet. We're gonna go ahead and throw that into the DOM in a second. Yeet is to removably throw. We're gonna yoit.
Um, so our label.class name is going to be set to be label.
Okay.
So div is going to have the class label. Jane, the reason that the div doesn't end up appears because we haven't given it a parent. We haven't taken a parent element and added the div to it. So we just created a div that's living in memory right now.
Yeah. So it's like if I'm telling you to write a poem. I say, "Hey, I want you to write me a poem. I want it to be a poem about puppies." You're already building that in your head. And then I say, "Oh, I want you to write it on this card for your auntie." And then you start writing it down. So say, "Hey, go ahead and start making me that div. Here's where I want you to put it. Here's what I want you to call it. And here's what the text that I want associated with it." Eric, I'm going to save these really good comments you've got just because these um, answer your own question, which is very, very gracious, but like really want to look at this a little bit more.
So now we're going to use the append child method. So we will append. Remember, we have a container div. We're going to append to it. We're going to add, append or prepend? We're going to add to the end of the contents of our container. Yep.
Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Because a prefix is in the beginning. So epic.
Let's try it out.
Hey, sup? Okay.
Now notice that when we append, we add it to the end of our div's content.
If we change that to prepend, it would go in the beginning. It would go before it.
Correct.
How come I'm the only one who's lowercase? And how come they
That
got
was a
prettier
typo.
names? I'm being mean.
You are
Okay.
being wonderful. But see, what we're doing is,
We're making
you
a
know
div.
what? Let's inspect
Oh,
this element.
yeah.
There it is. A div with a class label and the content of the name.
Okay. Okay.
Just
I'm not like
Jess,
super
Florencia, and
confident
Violeta
yet,
are yes? Okay.
but I'm willing to come with you on this journey.
Perfect. Let's keep going then. Pat.
Yeah, pat. This stuff is hard. We get pats for every single one.
What we're going to be doing next is creating a function called range, which takes two parameters, start and end. And we're going to use the array constructor and have it implicitly return an empty array. Implicitly, hold on a second. Console log range. What does implicitly mean? Let's find out. So this function range returns an empty array.
So here implicitly means so implicit. It's kind of hard for folks for whom English is not their first language, but this is hard for folks for whom English is their first language. Because to imply is to strongly hint but not say it directly. So I'm going to guess that the default behavior here would be to create Kristen says that implicitly means don't put parentheses around the return. Okay. I was like, oh, it means to imply, to not directly state what you want, but it means to not put the parentheses around the return.
Mehmet's asking, what's the difference between bracket and array? I don't see a difference. They're both an array.
And Kira makes a solid and there's no return because the return is sort of built in. Do you know what? How about when we do this next year, we just get all the learners from this boot camp to take turns coming in guest starring? Because everybody said this better than I was waffling on it. Tina was like, implicit means just unsaid.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, can't hurt us yet.
This is where using the array constructor is going to offer more functionality, as Stephen B already said. So what we're going to be doing is getting this we will need to have this be the size of that range. So we will calculate by having end minus start to give us that range. But because these things are zero index, we'll add 1 to the end.
So because an array starts at 0,
Yep.
We've said +1 saying, "Hey, I wanna start at 1."
Yep.
Um, and I say, "Subtract the end of the range, so the biggest number, from the smallest number."
What
No.
is this a range of? Cells? We don't know yet, but I can guess that it's cells.
Maybe cells.
But look, so we've got an array. We're building a range of 3 to 5. Look how many elements we have there. 3, 4, and 5. So this array of empty values has 3 in its range.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Pat, pat.
I love that question where it's like, "What is this a range of?" We're like, "We don't know." Which
At
would
this
be
stage,
my
we don't know yet.
question.
No.
If you weren't here, that's how I would answer that question, but, like, with a lot more fear in my heart. So there's a fill
So,
method.
yep.
Oh, please, please, please. So
No, you're
we're
good.
gonna chain the fill method with it. So, our range function is gonna go ahead and sort of pass the baton onto the fill method,
Yep.
and we're gonna pass in the start value. Okay.
Let's find out. So now we filled this array of empty values with a bunch of threes. I don't know
Okay.
why yet.
I don't know. I don't
Let's keep going. Pat, pat.
confused, but proud, pat pat.
So
Oh,
we're going to do one more chaining to it because the problem is, of course, that we've got it filled. Hold on. Let's console log range 3 to 10. Let's go with 10 now. So that'll have 7 values in it, and those will all be threes. But of course, what we want
okay.
is the range of 3 to 10. Sorry.
No, 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 don't be sorry. It was just me being like, "Yeah, yeah, okay. I am cautiously okay with this."
So what we're going to do is map it, all of those threes, and have that map callback take both the element and the index of that element as parameters, and have it return element plus index. Close my bracket. And now look what we have. 3,
Huh.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This looks great and all, but like I don't trust it. And I know what y'all thinking. Ramon, when are you going to bring up Python Tutor? Good news, friends. We're going to bring it up now.
I have nothing to say about Python Tutor. I'm
Nothing but
definitely
good
not gonna
things,
give
I
you a
hope.
hassle about Python Tutor until one of us goes ahead and goes to our great nap.
So we're building a range of 3 to 10, right?
Okay.
First thing we do is we've got those two parameters. Start is 3, end is 10. Fabulous. Now we are starting all the way here at the map. So at the first step of our map, the element is 3 and the index is 0. So what is 3 plus 0? Well, 3 plus 0 is 3. That's the first map return. The next one is element and index. Element is still 3 because remember we've got 7 threes. Element is 3, index is 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now 2. Now 6. Now 7. Now 8. Now 9. Now 10. And that's what gives us our array ranging from 3 to 10. So we're good? Pat, pat. Let's keep going. Ah! Shall I give us this one? Yeah. So, this boot camp is free. Free Code Camp is free, and they're a registered nonprofit. They depend on donations, but only if you can, only if you want to, only if you like. Don't be spending money you don't have. You can come back later and donate a couple of dollars a month. We'll be clicking on Ask Me Later and continuing.
So now that we have a range function, we can use it to create a range of letters as well. I'm
Interesting.
I'm really suspicious, and I would sidetrack us for a long time, but I think because our learners say like, some of our learners said that like, "Oh, I did this, but I didn't get it." Should we join them and sort of like just feel out for a couple of steps where we're going and see what kind of questions we get as we get there? So, our function's called character range. We've got a start and an end again, and
And it
that
returns. a range with that same start and end, which seems a little superfluous, a little bit repetitive.
Hey, this function does what this function does, but
Oops. You know what I'm going to do?
yeah, I mean console log and then Python tutor, I bet. Python
Actually,
tutor
I'm
gets
just going
checker
to go
too.
with console log.
Yeah.
Let's find out. Hmm. Well,
Doesn't work yet.
but I bet it's intentional. Pat, pat. Yep, our range expects numbers, but our start and end values will be strings. So what we're going to do is
Oh.
going to use something called char code at.
And this is
Interesting.
what I'm going to guess this does. I've never seen this before. I think it's going to say, hey, this character, what number would it correspond to? Would this be for like no Joe say like, oh, like ASCII conversion. So like, yeah, would this be like a UTF? What's I'm gonna go get the MDN.
Let's find out. Hey, check it out. So A is number 65, B is number 66, C is number 67, 68, and Z is 90.
Respectfully and lovingly, what the hell are you talking about?
Let's try something else. Check it out. Lowercase a is corresponds to the number 97. And lowercase z is 122. So Steven's asking, wait, what are these strings? Where are they coming from? We don't know yet. I know
I
it's really
know.
annoying to just be building stuff towards it. I suspect it's going to be the headers for the cells. But here's the
Ah.
thing. Like, we're just building functions now. And like, I think it's really important to bear in mind, and like I'm sorry, I know that this doesn't work for everybody, to be building towards it. But cool. So now we can turn letters into numbers and create a range between them. Cool. But we still have those numbers that we want to turn back into letters now. So we're going to use map on that range of numbers, remember? And we're going to be calling on each of those. This will be code. Code corresponds here to the number code of that letter. And we're going to call a string from char character code. Let's try this now.
I mean, like, based on the instructions, this is the code I would write if I was better at JavaScript. But I'm offended on a aesthetic level. So what we're doing, and this sounds really unnecessary, but this is just sort of JavaScript's vibe. It says, hey, cool. We want to use, so we want to go ahead and set a range. And the issue with a
Mhm.
range is a range only really respects numbers. A range only really knows what to do with numbers. So when we're setting this range, we're going to get some letters. And in order to handle them in a range, we're going to turn those letters into the numbers that the UTF-16 standard applies to them. It's not a problem. It doesn't really matter what they are. It's just that they're in order. And then in order to show them as strings, we're going to turn them back from character codes into letters again.
Yep.
Okay. So why we're doing this is range just doesn't know how to handle anything, so it's not a number. So we're saying, okay, range, we've got these letters, but I'm going to convert them into numbers first. And it gives us back a range. And I said, you've given me a range in numbers. That makes sense. You only really know how to use numbers. I'll convert them back into letters before displaying them.
And what we're doing here, exactly. And what we're doing here is chaining these function calls. This is the magic of functional programming. Let's keep
This
going.
headache I have right now is the magic of functional programming.
You could say that.
Now that our helper functions are complete, back in our onload event handler, we're going to declare a letters
Oh, yeah.
variable. So, and this is going to be what?
We're going to get a character range from A to
To
J.
J. Okay, like no, that makes sense. And where we are now is we're inside that function where we said don't do this till the page loads. So just
Correct.
to go ahead and continue to set the scene, we've said, hey, this thing we're doing right now isn't going to run till the page loads. Okay.
Correct. Cool. Let's keep going.
Okay.
So now we're going to loop through each of our letters.
For each loop. Okay. I'm a little so we
Oh.
did this a couple times. This is okay. A for each loop. Like we hate this a lot less than turning a letter into a number, putting it in a range, and then turning them back into letters. Why am I excited about something as boring as a spreadsheet? But okay. So we've said give me a div, give me a cell for each of these letters in the range.
Well, we're not giving. I want to be I'm
We're
sorry. I want to be
setting.
pedantic about that. We are creating and adding to our DOM.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's because like using precise technical language is so important, and I sometimes get excited.
No, you're great.
Okay, let's continue to see how little pain we can. So remember, arrange returns an array. Oh, so we're going to chain some more. Okay, so we're going to call range from 1 to 99, and then we're going to chain it with the for each. We're going to have number as a parameter, and then that's going to point at an empty function. Okay. I'm ready. I'm way wound up for this. Let's go. And I bet now we're going to do the create label again. So we're going to be creating this div, all these divs with the labels, and we're going to pass the number argument. Okay. So in our callback, we need to make 2 function calls. First, call create label and pass it number, and then call for each on our letters array. Okay. Hang on, I'm paying so much attention to you all. I'm having such a nice time. I just need to make sure that my inhuman children have not killed each other. I've just heard a sound.
Exciting. Now, we've now created a label for each number.
Yeah. Okay.
Then when we want to call letters for each inside this loop itself and create a callback inside there for each letter. Doesn't do anything yet.
Yeah. And I think one thing I think we're almost definitely going to fix is that it's offset. I think we need to like add a +1 there as well, or move the A over. Okay, so now in our nested for each, declare an input variable. Use the create element method to the document object, document.createElement, to create an input element. Okay, so this is going to be a field on our DOM, on our website that the user can see, that the user can add, that the user can input characters into. Okay. Input type is text, so it's going to be a text box. And the ID is going to be letter plus number. Okay. I'm not
So we haven't
super
added
clear.
it to our we're not added it to our DOM yet, but if you think back to the beginning, what we're doing here is creating each cell of our spreadsheet. Each number here represents a row, each letter represents a column. So for each letter and number pair, we're going to add an input field in there whose ID is A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C1, C3, D1, D2, D3. I'm breaking my brain saying that. So
No,
we're creating a bunch of inputs for things.
do you know what? Do you know what I would have done on this instead? I would have done a
Yeah,
bingo card
fair.
because this is a bunch of numbers.
Jane, what? Jane's asking, why is text a string? Let's go look at MDN real quick. So input elements have different types. They can be password, they can be number, they can be radio button, they can be checkbox. We need to programmatically set this type attribute to be a value. As I said, it can be text, it can be string. So we want to be able to write text into our input. La la la, I am text. Wow, that is very short. So that's why it needs to be text. I'll keep going. Now, what we've been doing so far is, oh, Mehmet saying by whoopsie. By default, it's text. Yes, but I want to be specific. So the other thing we're going to do for accessibility is set an ARIA label. Does
Aria,
anybody who's
let's ask them. I was like, I know what Aria is, but like obviously I do. I did the web boot camp with us.
yeah, I wanted to ask folks who've done the web bootcamp, can you remind us what an ARIA label is? Pat.
I'm so sorry. I'm yawning nonstop. I'm trying to give up caffeine and it's making me a very gloomy. No, it's good for me. So we're going to append the input element to our container element as the child. Okay, this means our container element, we're going to put this text input inside it at the end, but it'll be a child. It'll exist within the parent element of the container. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so two separate opinions here. And all of these A1, A2s, A3s, these were really about the labels for where on the spreadsheet these are.
Correct.
Oh, do you know anybody wants to refactor this? Do you know what you could probably do with the same thing is like the beginnings of like a battleship type game?
That'd be fun.
I have two different opposing thoughts. And the first thought is we wrote a whole bunch of really confusing code. And the second thought is we didn't write that much confusing code. And this works as like a spreadsheet. This is wild.
Pat.
Oh, yeah. I say we. Oh, no,
So
we
now
have to
that we
make it
have
do
our
math as well. We can't just like.
Yep.
Hmm.
So now that we have our spreadsheet, we're going to make it start doing stuff.
A little showy, kind of showing off, but okay.
So it should return the result of calling reduce on the array to sum all of the numbers. I remember this from
We did this
yesterday or the day
yesterday.
before.
Okay. One of those days.
Oh.
Time is meaningless.
Yeah. So I just got to remember how to do this. There we go.
I totally remember.
Num. No, hold on. Accumulator sum. Is that it?
Oh yeah.
No?
So the accumulator is like the temporary value that changes as we go through and add or subtract or divide or stringify. Oh, Mehmet says the second value we need is 0. Oh,
Yeah, it's right there.
you get you. Oh.
Yep. If you're like, hold on, how did this work again? Don't worry, we covered this yesterday. If you're still confused as to what reduce is, I might recommend going back to yesterday's lesson and covering it again.
Not right away, though. There's no hurry. You can come back next week. You
Yeah.
can come back not over the weekend.
I'm gonna
Uh,
make a function called is even.
and we're getting this modulo again because we know that anything that's modulo 2 equals 0 is even.
Yep.
Got that 3 equals, the strict equality operator.
Perfect.
I feel like JavaScript makes us do a lot of math. Is that like
Depends on the program you're writing.
Hmm. Okay. Do you know what? Can we not just go get the average function? Did we make an average function yesterday?
We did that 2 days ago.
Can we just
But
get
we have a sum
Oh.
function we can use.
Oh,
So I would
it's
recommend
even
not skipping it
easier. Oh,
because we're
I
gonna
wasn't saying
be,
skip it. I was like, can we go get
oh,
our old
sorry.
code?
Oh, we
Um,
could.
but this is more efficient because we've got sum, and like this is going to be sum divided by nums.length.
Correct. Cool. I like it when we reuse code. This is the beauty of functional programming.
Oh, because sum is a function, we can go ahead and use that other function, like functions upon functions. Every moving part is a moving part.
Correct. So we'll do the median. This will be a little bit. Notice I'm gonna quickly answer this one. Can we fetch functions from other JavaScript files like the file of math functions we did yesterday? Yes, we can. I don't know if we'll do it. I don't think we'll be doing it in this lesson, but it is possible.
So you could copy and paste them over. You couldn't tell, like the way Free Code Camp is designed, you couldn't say, oh, go I want to call a function from a different project. That won't work.
Okay.
But you can copy and paste the code over and nobody can stop you. I mean, the tests can stop you if they want you to do something specific.
Cool.
So sorted
So
numbers.slice, and then the sort method called on the sliced numbers.
yes, slice allows us to make a copy of the array
And then we'll
so that when
sort.
we call sort on that copy, nums doesn't get sorted. We don't want to sort nums. We want to sort a copy of nums. Don't ask me why. Oh, hold on. Oh, sorry. It's turning into string. So we need to do this whole A, B. And I remember this
Oh, that
from previous
thing
sessions.
equals
Mhm.
A minus B, but it's not minus. That's just the syntax.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. We're immortal. We are shining. We're perfect. None of this can hurt us. It's just JavaScript. A length variable, and it's the length of our sorted array. It's sorted.length. Yeah. Oh, which is the so const sorted. Now we're setting the length of that. And then middle is the what? Oh, because it's the
It's
median.
the, correct. It's the middle index.
So this is what we did yesterday, the day before, but this is like a
Did
different, both a different syntax. We're both typing different things to make this happen, but the mental model for this feels really different.
yep.
Huh.
So
I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
we're going to use is even with length to either return the average. Hold on. We have a function called average. Nums at middle
Okay,
and
so
nums. Yes.
no, go.
Or nums. Oh, hold on. Nums at math dot. Wait, rounded up.
Oh,
Isn't that seal?
ceiling?
Yeah.
Seal. Ugh, illegal.
Something it doesn't like. You should pass an array to your average function. Oh, my bad. That should be an array. The first element of the array past average should be the element at the middle index of your sorted array, not the nums. I feel like I made the same mistake yesterday.
I mean, oh, because
There we go.
hang on, let's talk through this. Definitely for the
Yep.
learners, not for me. So to get the median, we're going to take this array of numbers
Correct.
and we're going to say, cool, first, I want to create I want this function called sorted, which is going to create a new const sorted.
It's not a function.
Oh, hey, I want to set a const sorted, which is set to nums.slice, so a copy of the nums array sorted by size.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want to set a variable that is just taking the length of the sorted slice. So we're still at each of these steps. Once we create this sorted variable, which is a copy of our once we create this sorted variable, which is a copy of our nums array that's sorted in order, that's what we deal with from now on in this function. We grab the length, and then we get a variable that's set to the middle that says, look, cut this length in half, and then subtract 1 because we start at 0. So to accommodate for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I was not confident. I was like, and
No,
then
you're good.
what we're returning is we're a check. So, hey, I want you to return something. First check, is the length even? So can we get the number in the middle? And if it is, give me the average of the copy of the num array in the middle. Like, go ahead and average what the numeral in the middle of that would be, and then -1 to account for the 0 index. But if it's not even, go ahead and just show me the thing that's in the middle, round it up.
Correct. Perfect.
Cool.
And this is what I like about using lots of variables. First step, give me the array but sorted. Give me the length of the array. Give me the middle index of that array. Hey, if the length of that array is even, give me the average of the two middle numbers. The two middle numbers that are in the middle of the array. Otherwise, give me the value of that middle of the array, as you perfectly put it.
Okay. Did I perfectly put it? Because I just made a lot of question mark sounds out loud.
No, you were great. This is what pair programming is.
One person types and the other person cries.
Ooh.
It's a little bit too true for an intro class, wasn't it? To be like,
What we'll be doing in this step is using the shorthand notation to create objects. Let me show you all what that means. We are declaring a new variable called spreadsheet functions, which is an object. Now, if we wanted to put in that sum, average, and median properties, we could do this. Average, median.
yeah, but what?
Because we want to have an object that has three value key pairs: sum, average, and median. Their values happen to be stored in the variables sum, average, and median.
Okay.
But there's a shorter way to write this. If your key and your value have the same variable name, hey, write a shorthand. That becomes significantly quicker to write.
You should declare a spreadsheet functions. You're gonna definitely want an H in there under the
Ah.
So the three things pair programming are about are helping each other learn and grow, having somebody to cry with, and having somebody who will immediately see your typos even when you can't.
Exactly. So we're going to make a new function called update, which takes an event parameter. That sounds familiar.
Oh. I had to mute myself. I'm just like, I know what's going on. I have an idea.
Now, we're going to tell our input elements to call the update function when the value changes. Remember, we're still here in our creation of inputs. So input.onChange is set to be update. I think it's just that. So it'll
So,
automatically put in the event.
yeah, let's talk about this. So, window onload, I'm saying wait for an event to do a thing. I'm asking you to wait for an event. I want you to respond to an event like, "Hey, we're waiting for we want to see this event before we do something with this code." And window onload is like, paint me, render me the whole page, run everything before you load this. On
Yep.
change is different. On change is like, "Hey, I still want you to wait for an event, but the event I want you to wait for is something changing here. Like when you see something change, do this thing." Okay.
Correct.
So these events are like I don't have a better way to say it, but like they're events. Something's happened. So for onload,
Yep.
we've rendered the whole page for you. Let's do something. On change is like, look, I can see there's been a change on this page. I'm going to run this code you've
Not
asked
on the
for.
change, not on the
Not on
page,
the
on
page.
the input, on
On the
this
input.
individual input.
Yes, sorry. So
You're good.
please look at this text input. If that changes, go ahead and run update.
Perfect.
Perfect. Just saying words. Since the update event is running a change event listener, the event per okay, this we've done this before. It's gonna be that E. It's gonna be that weird E conceptually.
So that event gets called. Our callback takes that event, and that event contains a target, which is the element, which we're storing into a variable. So far, so good. Stuff we've done before. Now, this element will have a value because it's an input. So element value is going to be set to be that same element dot value, but we're going to replace all of the white spaces in there, and we know how to do that.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
with
the
regex.
no.
I hope it's with regex. So we're replacing globally all of the white spaces with a blank space. Let's see if it likes it. You should declare a value. Oh, sorry. To a new variable called value. My bad. Const value. Do you like it now? It does. Cool.
Okay, like so this is something that the learners have pointed out, which unfortunately is going to be the way the world works, and it would be like, oh well, it's hard out in the world. Is that as these courses progress, they push you further and further into, hey, we need like in the beginning we say type this, type that. Now we're like replace to remove all the white space. I would have struggled with this for like 4 hours before being like, maybe a regular expression. Maybe let's try a regular expression. Um, if you are taking forever and struggling over it, you are not goofy. You're not making a mistake.
Oops. Sorry. Never mind. Yes, carry on.
I was gonna say, like, also we've done these boot camps before. Like us be like, doop doop. If you're trying to finish the rest of this thing and you're like, well, it took them an hour. Why is it taking me 9 hours? It's because we are cheating by having Ramon Hope.
You're too kind. So now we're
Not
going to check that the
cheating.
value does not include the ID of the element. Wait, how do you check if a string includes?
Oh,
Is it
is it
includes? Yeah. It is string includes. Cool. Okay. So value dot includes element dot ID. Oh, there we go.
why? The if should check if the value does
Oh,
not. And we do that
does
with the
not
like with the not.
the exclamation mark. Yes. My bad.
there's
pat.
no bad. Nothing bad is happening. Okay, spreadsheet software typically uses an equals at the beginning of does it? I've based my whole career around trying not to do maths in a spreadsheet. Okay, so we're gonna use the and. So it says, okay, if the value doesn't include the element ID and the
Mhm.
first character of the value is equals. So and um
I
I
yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, oh, I know that as an array, it's gonna start at 0. So can I look for the 0th? Um, I feel confident about this, and I haven't felt confident about something in JavaScript for a little while. Yeah. These
Pat.
paths are getting a little bit because like on job applications, they're like, "Must be proficient in Excel." They don't test you, it's fine. My avoiding maths in a spreadsheet. Wait, what are we doing? In order to run
So
spreadsheet
we're gonna
functions.
now that we've detected when we can start running functions, we're going to be making a form, making a
Thingy bopper.
making a
Doofer.
function.
Hey.
Yeah, making a function called eval formula to evaluate the formula that we're going to write in our spreadsheet. Takes two parameters, x and cells. Guess what? I don't know what x and cells are, but I bet we'll find out real quick.
So we might not find out real quick because nothing bad's happening. I just want to give us a heads up that we've got a ton of really good questions. And we're going to
Ooh.
be starting to wind down in a second. We're not abandoning you. This is still hard, and we're coming back tomorrow to pick up from around here. Um, but just if you've got questions about this, or if you'd like to cry with us, go ahead and drop them in the chat now, and we'll get to them in a hot second. So, ID to text. It's a function that takes ID as a parameter. It's one of those arrow functions. And some of y'all been saying, I could do arrow functions, no problem now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tower, this is a very, very philosophical question. I love it. I'm going to answer that one. So,
So we're yep. So we are looking for so this ID to text is going to give us the cell for which the cell's ID is the same as the ID that we provide to this function. We don't know what this we don't know how we're using this yet. All we know is we're saying, "Hey, I have a function called ID to text, and what it's going to do is look in my cells and find the one that whose ID matches the one that I'm providing as a parameter as an argument to ID to text." Hold on, I did it wrong.
no, it's okay.
Oh, I
No, I wasn't laughing at you doing it wrong. I was laughing at where you were like, yeah, and that's where we'll be. I'll be like, okay, cool. So I'm like 5 steps behind you, but I'm gonna like hop along
it's
and see if
implicit.
I conceptually catch up.
It's an implicit return, isn't it? It's always an implicit return.
Oh yeah, an implicit return, which I'm super comfortable with and not at all low key, like what? But
It's,
the
right
big
now,
thing
it's
that I wanna
yeah.
push is it is super okay to be a little bit lost. It is super okay for this stuff not to, like, click, click, click yet.
Yeah.
Y'all are not falling behind. You're not doing anything wrong. I'm gonna call it here. Like, do you wanna call it
Okay.
here? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I don't no, absolutely not. I am officially calling it at this regex. No.
We'll pick it up from here tomorrow.
Do we
No
have to?
homework.
We can't just, like, make them do that on their own? This
Nope.
part that
I
sucks?
wanna I wanna walk us through this whole one.
Yeah. Um, let's take a look at some of these questions. And if it's okay, I know that this is not traditional, but I might answer the last question first. And
Okay.
Tower saying is like, oh, so what we're doing with this functional programming is we're writing the algorithms, we're writing the moving logic for the process that later could become the comments in our code. And what I think is there's a bunch of different ways to do this. If you sat me down and said, "Jess, I need you to write a spreadsheet program that does these things," I would probably take a pen and paper first. I would draw boxes and wiggles and say, "Oh, it's gotta have boxes like this, and it's gotta do math like that." So, we're going ahead and we're going right to the typey stages. But some people would say, "Oh, I wanna break this down in comments first." So, we are going function to function. We are writing this based on what process first, what process next. We are writing this algorithmically, but it's not necessarily the way we have to do it or the way we have to go with this next. Is that okay?
Sounds good to me. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't realize.
No, no, you like,
um,
"Jess, you love to talk. I didn't know you were done."
let's answer this question from Eric. You thought that onload means code running while loading. No, it is code that runs after. It's the on that's important here. On having loaded.
So the cool thing is the next couple of questions aren't questions, they're comments. They're Eric immediately after asking this question to be like, "Oh, hey, the onload event occurs when the object has been loaded. Dot onload is usually associated with the body element to execute a script once the whole web page is like done. And that means images, script files, CSS. The onload event can be used to check. Oh, and the onload event can be a little bit creepy, but like, hey, babe, hey, user, what browser are you using? And then like you can use that to say, wait until the user has read the whole thing. Tell me what browser they're using because I want to make sure I pass them JavaScript that works with their browser. Yeah. And Eric makes another good point. Oh yeah, cookies can wait for onload as well. Sorry.
Uh, Wait, what's going on? Oh, you're
Oh,
removing questions. I was like, why can't
sorry.
no, you're good. So create element. One thing I want to really, really, really be careful about here. Create element does not add an element to our DOM. It just creates it and it's just held there until we add it, until we append it to a parent element. And it will never appear in the HTML file. With it, it'll only appear in the DOM, which is just derived from the HTML file. I forgot the context of this, Steven. I'm so sorry. Let me just scroll up real quick. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, create element. Yeah, it will never appear. Well, it's not in the HTML file. It's in the DOM. Which is exactly, it'll appear in the DOM, which is derived from the HTML file. Yep, you got it. Now. Yes, Nojo Sojo's asking, create element is the same as using inner HTML. Nope. It is not. Create element lets us create an element by a name. Div, input, p, h1, h2. Inner HTML is setting the contents of an existing element to have this string, which happens to be HTML.
Okay. So if I wanted to remember this, I'd say, hey, inner HTML is I'm putting something inside the HTML element that already exists. Create an element is like with a little magician hat and a rabbit saying, boom, I want a new element to be created.
Correct.
Hey.
Next question from Nojo. Why is 0 passed to charcode at? Let's paste in the link to the docs here at MDN. The parameters of charcode at are the index. Undefined is converted to 0. So here, this is saying, hey, if you don't put in a parameter, we'll just treat it as 0. But it's always good to be specific.
So this is a weird way to answer this, but it's because char code at likes to be passed 0 if you don't have an alternative thing you want to give it.
Correct. Perfect. Stephen B saying, I think that I feel like going over map and for each would be really helpful because there's special functionality in their parameters that took a lot of digging and guessing the documentation, specifically how the parameters element, index, array, and this argument work, some of which are in the code. Cool. Let's take a look. Bring up my good friend.
Are we your I see how this worked. So Python tutor's your friend, but Jesse, nothing for Jesse.
Oh, everything for Jesse.
Except for, do you have another like back pocket, like Python tutor type tool you've been keeping quiet this whole time?
So I was given Python tutor the first time I did this boot camp, I think.
Okay, but that's
Um,
not like the first time you showed me. Hmm.
I'm sorry.
Although I was just fessing up that I didn't always watch your streams for the JavaScript one when we used to do them
No,
separately. So really, it's my fault, is what you're saying.
no, never.
We have a
So when we
very,
map
very
over,
healthy working relationship.
so when we map over something, we have as a callback the first parameter of this callback is the element itself. Now, what Steven's asking about, and is very correct in doing so, why did we have an index as well? That's because this callback can take more than one parameter. We can also have the index. This is part of the definition of map. Let me go to map real quick. Let's look at this callback. So this callback function can take up to 3 elements. Up to 3? Yeah, up to 3 arguments. The element itself,
Okay.
the index of that element, and the array itself.
Okay, so when we're using map, these are 3 things that it can kind of handle. These are 3 things that it knows about, that it can work with. Okay.
Same
And
goes
we don't
for
have to use
for
all
each.
3 of them,
Yeah,
but we
check it out.
could if
When
we
I'm
wanted to.
exactly, see, when we're using map now and I've got el index and array, there's the element, there's the index, and the array is pointing back to the original array. Same goes for each, if I'm not mistaken. Let's find out. Which is just a loop at the end of the day.
How are you so good at stuff?
It's Python tutor, it's not me. Yep, same thing. Now, reduce. Monica wants to look at reduce. It will be helpful to understand why the first parameter acts like an accumulator and the second parameter takes the default value. It doesn't take a default value. Let's go back. Let's use reduce. Let's do a reduce here. Const, what's it called when you multiply all of the numbers? Factorial.
Oh, yeah.
Multiply the
Like
factorial.
who didn't know that that was a factorial just like that? Honestly, I'm a little bit embarrassed that you had to pause. I obviously know that a factorial is when you
There are
multiply all the
some
dudes.
there are some old wounds that I carry from university.
Is it
Um,
is it knowing maths words? Because I carry the opposite.
let's just call it ac and L for element. So the
Okay,
way
and we've
factorial
seen that.
works is,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
no, you're good. We return ac times el. That's how we do a factorial. It's like
Yeah.
multiplying all of the members of the array. Now, here's what we're gonna do. Just to quickly, no, Stephen B, yes, it doesn't matter, but I'll highlight your question in a second.
I mean, that's kind of the biggest, most reflective thing about JavaScript at all. Be like, look, most of this isn't real. It's all imaginary. We never should have taught computers how to think. But given that we did, let's look at this imaginary irrelevant thing together. Sorry.
Yep. No, you're good. Now notice we didn't pass a second parameter to our we didn't pass a second parameter to our reduce. So the accumulator automatically starts as our first member of the array.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the accumulator is 1, the element is 2. Notice it's not a default, Monica. So 1 times 2 is 2.
Oh,
Next step.
wait.
Yes.
So somebody explained this really, really well yesterday, and they described the accumulator as like a bucket. And when you
Yep.
start, if the bucket has the first value in it, And then the element, what we're really doing is where every time we pass through it, we're chucking the value of the element into the accumulator. So round one. Oh, can we do it one more time? I'm
Yep.
sorry.
No, you're good. I can.
Oh,
Here.
oh, does Python tutor let you go backwards as well?
Yep. It's really
So
cool.
we're starting with two little buckets. The first one has the first value in the array in it. So it's got a one in it. And the element we're looking at, the second one in the array is two. Okay. When you push next, we're going to take the element, we're going to take that two. We've got that two. And then we're going to chuck it into the accumulator. So it'll be three. And then move on to the next element, which will be three. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll be the three that comes next in line.
So, sorry, I interrupted
No,
you,
no, no,
Jess.
no.
I was just giving a link to Monica because Monica was correctly pointing out, hold on, where's the 0 as the default? It's not the default. It's the beginning value of the accumulator. Because I didn't pass an initial value for the accumulator, reduce goes, hey, if you're not going to do it, then I'll do it. Fine. The first value of the initial value of the accumulator, in this case, will be the first value of the array, and we'll start at the second element. I posted a link in the chat.
Yeah.
If you're curious more about this initial value, check this out.
And the thing is, this might not make sense yet. I really recommend taking a look at, so I really like Barbara Oakley talks about focused and diffuse thinking. And one thing that's
Yep.
really unfair about programming is we tend to think that if you just apply enough focused thinking to the problem, you'll magically understand it. But
Yep.
brains are soft and wiggly and lovable. Sometimes when you're trying to grapple with a brand new thing, what you need to do is say, okay, I've focused on this for a while. I'm going to go let my brain play. And then maybe I'll get this through diffuse thinking. Maybe I'll get this about daydreaming. Maybe I'll get this from learning to play the ukulele later. But maybe I'll just rest and then come back and look at this again in a week or in a day or in a year. And it'll be like, oh, I've focused enough times and I've applied enough focus
Yep.
that worked. Or, oh, I've chilled out and diffuse thinking and experiences led me here.
Correct. I want to point out what Monica says here. I think Steve's summary that this is just how the method works is fair enough for a lot of these, and we need the documentation for each. Yep. And I'm sorry, it's extremely annoying because it's good to question things.
Oh,
Some of the best learning I've ever done in my life is when I used to teach children to code, and they would be like, I remember I used to teach them to code games, right? Like
oh,
two-dimensional games, like little jumping Super Mario kind of things.
why
The
are
way-
we not doing that? Why do we have to do JavaScript? That sounds great.
and and um I was teaching them how to draw the characters on the screen. You have an X coordinate, you have a Y coordinate. X goes 0 from the left to the window size on the right. The Y coordinate goes from 0 at the top and window height at the bottom. And one of the kids interrupted me. They go like, hold on. I was learning graphs in math class, and Y being 0 should be at the bottom. Why is it at the top? And I never questioned this before because I'm just trying to get my work done. And I remember being tempted to be like, look, it's
Don't
just
worry
the
about
way,
it.
or as this is just how the method works. But you know what? I thought like, no, you know what? Let's take some time. Let's look it up. Do you know why? You know why it is that way? It's because of how old screens, CRT or cathode ray tube screens used to work. And if you like watch it in extremely slow motion, what's happening is that each pixel, each cathode ray tube is being illuminated very, very quickly from top left to top right, row by row from top to bottom. So programmatically, it makes sense for the Y origin to be at the top.
So
Now,
this
here's the thing.
oh,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
No, no, no. I was gonna say that this overlaps with my point for like, "Ha, ha, ha, this is just how it works,"
Yeah.
because programming languages are
Yeah.
still languages.
Correct.
And if you're a native speaker of a language and you say, "Oh, hey, why do I say why if I'm making an English sentence, do I say the color before the
Mhm.
size?" Or why do I say the size before the color in a sentence? Why would I say the
Yeah.
big blue cat instead of the blue
Yeah.
big cat? Like, just because. And that's not quite true. It's because of, like you've pointed out, it's because this is a language, even programming language and a human language, not that different. And there are the history of acculturation behind it and say, oh,
Yeah.
we do it this weird way because back in 1987, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, and digging into this is so exciting as long as you don't get too sidetracked. But a lot of times it is the way it is, or because
Yeah.
JavaScript said so, is going to be the medium term answer for stuff. And I'm sorry.
Yeah. Here's the
Um,
thing. Like, sorry.
no, I was going to say the people who invented JavaScript are still around. We can just yell at them.
It was invented in 2 weeks, by the way.
I mean, I can tell.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That anecdote I told you about the Y coordinate and the CRT monitors, fascinating. It has not helped me once in my daily work, except to tell a cool story. But
And
like,
accept the stuff that's weird.
and accept the stuff that's weird. And here's the thing that I'm getting at with reduce and all of this, like, frustrating. Like, why do we sometimes pass a zero? Why do we have a zero here? Why do we have a zero there? Look, it's not bad to question these things, and it's super interesting. But a lot of the time, the skill that you're going to need to develop is knowing when to be like, you know what, it is the way it is. And I'm sorry that it's very frustrating, and it sounds really dismissive of me to tell you like, oh, don't question it. Like, just you know, try to memorize it, or be like me and I forget all the time and look it up constantly. Here's the thing: if I could memorize these things, I wouldn't need documentation. Documentation exists for a reason. All right, that's enough of me rambling. So tomorrow, no homework because we got a lot more
Oh
frustrating
yeah,
stuff to
no
do.
homework.
That's not
This
frustrating.
is too much. This is cursed. This is only a little cursed.
Georgia
Um,
makes a good point, though. I'm going to leave it there. Job interviewers may ask these things randomly. It is true.
it's not a great interview question, but
No, it's terrible.
also I wanted to thank you. So I've been waiting for
Oops.
somebody to apologize for JavaScript for a while, and finally, you're doing it for us. You
Totally.
were like, "I'm
And
sorry, JavaScript."
abstraction and acceptance. Yeah. The three stages of learning JavaScript.
There's
Sigh, extraction.
definitely more stages than that, but the other stages are all just like crying, crying. Why is there a regular expression here? They're all different types of crying, and we don't need to mess with those until we have to do them for jobs,
Shall we let everybody go?
right? Nope. There is no programming homework, but there is still homework. If there is a topic that is you've been like plugging away at multiple times, you've been focusing. My homework to you until tomorrow is to stop. It sounds counterintuitive, but like, oh, I just need to like, I need to keep going on this thing. Just give it until tomorrow's class. You can pick it up. You can make yourself unhappy over the weekend if you want to. I can't stop you, but just give it a little break and give yourself a little breathing room. The difference between today and tomorrow is not going to be a big difference in the whole wide big world. But that rest is gonna feel really, really nice, and learning to build that rest in when stuff is really stressful and you cannot stop turning it over in your head is going to be a very counterintuitive, very, very useful way to do things.
Sounds good.
All right, your homework is to
See you.
not do any homework.
I like it. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, loves.